He was so funny because I hadn't seen him in a while, so I was asking his aunt.
Roll call?
No, I guess be his cousin, where he might be Austin, you know, kind of things that I hadn't seen him for a while. And so I told her, I don't know what's right about him, wondering how he's doing. I said, I've got something for the baby.
I'll just make something up, none of it,
Right. And so when he came back, that was the first thing he said to me when he got, I heard you were looking for me. I said, I am. He said, they said you got something for the baby.
Tell me.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to start this meeting at 7 p.m. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
You caught the tail end.
You got beads around your neck?
Oh, yeah. You got a breastman?
From business after hours.
I know. Motion to approve the minutes of the February 8th, 2018 Manistee Township Board meeting and the February 19th, 2018 special board meeting.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
No
Please
pickle ball.
simplify.
No second.
So moved and supported. That we accept and place on file the minutes from the February 8th, 2018 and the February 19th, 2018 special board meeting. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Thank you. Receive a copy of your treasurer's report. Any comments? If not, they'll be placed on file. We received your minutes on February 1st, 2018. Meeting minutes in the packet. Any discussion or any reiteration on your part, sir?
No.
Okay. There was no appeal.
There was no appeal.
There's no correspondence. Anyone with anything to bring before the board at this time?
Well,
Well, we got a sandbar again, but the lake level's holding pretty good, so.
How you doing? Got this plugged again?
No, yeah, it's plugged up. It's, when now that the icebergs have gone out, it's created a pretty good mound of sand right
Sand
there.
again.
They all that again.
With the wind pounding.
With the wind pounding, yeah. But the lake has been, pretty good right now as far as, it isn't over the banks like it was, so.
That's good. Well, we'll just we'll have to follow measures we followed before.
Pitchforks and shovels.
Ice spots. Okay. County Commissioner.
Well, I don't have a lot to report on for you. I'll give you the quick rundown here. The Sheriff's Department, we've authorized the Sheriff to hire Lexapol, and they are updating their policies and procedures for the Sheriff's Department, and that hopefully will help mitigate some liabilities in the future. Sheriff O'Hagan gave us an annual report. The library millage, we authorized to be on the ballot for 1 mil renewal. Same thing for central dispatch. This month it will be South Conservation for 0.1 mil will be, I presume will be authorized this coming week, Tuesday. CERT team, which used to fall under the Bear Lake Township umbrella, is now underneath the county umbrella. So, and that is not any, it's not any additional cost to the county, but it does fall under the county's umbrella for liability now. And Brian Gutowski obviously is involved with that. Brian is also going around and doing active shooter training at many locations throughout the county, and it's extremely well received. And he's an exuberant trainer, I'll tell you that. He does a very nice job. We also are in the process of getting a request for proposal for a new county website, because our website is not the easiest to navigate through, and work for the people as they try to find things, and we have a $5,000 renewal grant from the United States Forest Service for the Sheriff's Department to patrol the National Forest. Something to come out of the intergovernmental meeting, and they've been open for about 3 months, is the pharmacy up there at the government center. There is a pharmacy there now, and it is open to the public.
Tribal government center.
At the tribal government center, yes, but it is open to the public. I couldn't tell you what their hours are. I'm Dennis, I didn't hear him
He didn't
mention.
suggest it.
Yeah.
Do they say what pharmacy it is? I mean, is it
It's a tribe.
Walgreens
No, it's
Rite Aid?
tribes.
It's the tribes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how pharmacies work, where they get their.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, Social Security, you know, you have to kind of figure out which
Couldn't
pharmacy
tell
you're
you.
gonna use, yeah.
Yeah.
No, he didn't
To buy-
elaborate on that.
Part D.
I would guess my suggestion would be to go visitors.
Yeah.
That's basically all I have.
Any questions for our commissioner?
You guys are too easy. They give me the grilling and I'll knock them off.
Did they?
What's going on in line? Yeah.
Nothing.
Thank you, sir. Zoning administrator?
No new complaints. I did send out the letters, I'd forgotten all about it, for the 3 short-term rental properties in Marlon Heights. I already got one person called me back and wanted to know what was going on. So I explained to him.
The owner?
No, it's actually Century 21.
Oh, I see.
They're having a contract to do, to whatever,
Uh-huh.
take care of the management,
Mhm.
yeah. So I explained to them, you know, what's allowed in our residential district and what's not. And they had come to the township board and made a complaint. And I told them what the complaints, you know, noise, people parking and camping in the streets, driving golf carts on the public streets, that kind of stuff. So, trespass. We'll see what, he was gonna get back with the owners and, I don't know. They put it on hold, actually, Century 21, they've taken down the ads for Airbnb and Airbnb and all that, till they'd spoken with me. During the month of, would be February, I had 2 land use permits issued, 3 construction permits. I've been really quite busy with construction permits in the office of late. I had 3 on Tuesday, another one today, one week before, so I'm trying to keep it separate, so if we want to start charging an administration fee for my extra hours, or whoever's extra hours, we can do that, maybe next year, once we have some experience. Been busy with the solar farm amendment to our zoning ordinance. The Planning Commission, at their meeting on March 1st, recommended it be adopted by the board and sent to the Planning Commission, the County Planning Commission, for approval, whatever, comment. So that's on their agenda for next week, the Planning Commission. And if they don't have any other comments, then I'll make sure it gets on our agenda for the month of April. Started working on private road amendment to the zoning ordinance so that we do not require paving on a private road until you hit the 5th house. Then it's consistent with our subdivision and PUD language as far as paving goes.
Oh, okay, so it's gonna be increased from 3 to 5 then?
3 to 4, it can stay as gravel. 5th one has to be paved. And that's what the ordinance says today
Okay.
in subdivisions, so. I'm just trying to make it consistent, you know,
Sure.
no matter where in the ordinance it is.
Sure.
What else was, and Oak Grove, went through the PUD language with Richard while I was talking to him about something else, and I was gonna limit the Oak Grove development to only 36 units. But we came up with an idea that if they would go through the special land use process, then they could build 36 duplexes, which gives them 72 family units there. So Oak Grove's working through that, trying to get us a site plan for 36 duplexes on that property. That's at the end of Washington Street, right,
North of the water tower.
just north of the water tower. There's 20 acres in there they own on the lake shore. At the Planning Commission, besides recommending the solar amendment, they were talking about, they were presented with a proposed recreation authority document. None of the planning commissioners really thought they liked it in its present form because it basically gives land use authority and placement of the trail inside the township without township approval or support. It would be abdicating our authority to them. Now, we would have one person on a board that maybe had 12 people on it, so you can still lose in a vote. And Ms. Rabuka, who was here, a couple months ago, came to the Planning Commission meeting, asked if they wouldn't consider an ordinance amendment considering camping on one's land. And Richard just happened to be at the meeting, and he said, not allowed, we'll take care of it with the existing ordinance. So,
Oh, was that right?
that's what he said. So. And what else am I doing?
Well, it's not the total elimination of it, I hope.
No. Weekend camping on a holiday in somebody's yards, you know, for extra space is not the problem. This was a squatter, if you will, for 4 months on the end of Birch Road. Camping, whatever, temporary housing is allowed under the ordinance for up to 2 years on a parcel where you're building a new house. So, but that was not the case. Going to a meeting with the city on city sewer agreement on Monday.
Okay.
That's what I'm up to next.
Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
Have you heard much out of Harbor Solar?
Haven't heard from them at all.
Really? Interesting.
I got that email that you sent.
Yeah, because that,
I was thinking that was Cypress Creek, but didn't know.
I
And
don't
I
know, 'cause
told
this-
your
I got
brother-
this out of the airport today.
I told your brother not to worry about it, based on some information I had, that they wanted a larger parcel. But this is a different company, so maybe they don't need a larger parcel.
No idea.
I don't either.
It was news to me.
You need to pass that information on.
Yeah, you can crank it on.
No, I'm not saying that.
Guy?
Yes.
Might I ask you about these duplexes that are being put in? What is that about? Is that rentals or?
No, they
Is
were
that
gonna
city
sell them as
housing?
condos, I think. They're,
Oh, that would be through Oak Grove.
yeah, they'll probably come up with a different name than they incorporate it, but yeah.
Okay.
Cradle to grave.
It's Oak Grove property.
Look at your tombstone right behind you. I wasn't sure if that was city housing or what you were talking there. I just
No, it's
clarified.
a new development, kind of
Okay.
like the one on the north side, you know.
Just for dead people?
No,
Well, if they'll be up for sale or for rent?
For
Or don't
sale.
you know,
Sale.
for sale? Oh, okay. I was just wondering.
yeah.
Got your choice for a warm one or a cold one.
Anything else, sir?
I'm busy.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Any questions for Guy? Thank you, sir. Chuck, anything going on across the street?
Yeah, actually, there's some training going on over there right now for Cyber 102.
I was hoping that was training.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have all those folks there.
Yes.
For the month of February, we had 14 total calls, including 4 meetings, station trainings, 6 fire-related, and 4 medical, so it was a relatively slow month for medical. That was 25 complaint hours, and then personnel hours were about 147. Training, the firefighter 1 and 2 is going on over there. Sam and Nick are going to that right now. They're about a little over halfway. They're getting into it. They're getting tired of going every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, but they're powering through it. We're continuing to work with the city of Yakima, East Lake, and us on our training schedule, kind of working together. We do have a new applicant, James Shadle. So tonight, if we can get a motion by the board to accept him as a probationary firefighter. He's been coming for about 6, 7, 8 weeks now, and trying to learn what's going on. He doesn't have any experience, but that's all right. We've shown what we need to do. Revenue sharing, we did receive that boot grant through the countywide grant, and those should be, by next Wednesday, decided which company we're going to get the boots for. So we should end up with about 5 or 6 pair at least. They're about $350 a pair, so that are going out countywide. I think it's about 50 some pairs of boots that we're looking at countywide. And then countywide, we put in for a PPE grant for turnout gear also for revenue sharing, and that's coming up. And then we also put in for ourselves. We put in for bigger cylinders for the filling station over there. And some hydrant adapter and a portable monitor for the next revenue sharing grant. And then the apparatus, the DOT inspection, annual inspection should be coming up. We're waiting a little bit nicer weather. We thought we were gonna have some really nice weather there a couple weeks ago, and then March came back around. And looking at 131, we had to replace the batteries on it the other day, so keep that in the back of your head that we really need to look at replacing that. That's 25 years old. And becoming more of a pain than it needs to be. So. And then it's burn permit season. So if you look online and you look at Michigan burn permit map, it'll give you a map of the entire state of Michigan. And all the time Manistee County is brown or yellowish looking, so you have to call. There's 2 numbers, Filer, Manistee Township. And for Manistee Township, if you call 231-690-5329, you should get somebody, and if you can't get them, then we'll work down to me or someone else. Just be mindful of burning. It's going to be nice weather. Everything's going to be dead and dry, and it's going to take off on us the first couple of 3 weeks of fire season. So a couple of weeks we'll be in the spring fire season, and before you know it. So pretty much all I have. Just the biggest thing would be to accept James Shadle as a probationary firefighter from the board.
Is there I'd accept the motion to accept James Shadle as a probationary firefighter upon the recommendation of the fire chief.
I make that motion.
A second.
Been moved and supported that James Shadle be accepted as probationary fireman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Good job on the recruiting. Good job on everything you guys do over there, and again, thank you.
Yep. Been interesting the last few months, to say the least. We're working through it.
Liquor inspector, there's no changes. I suspect there will be some as the weather clears up, but nothing at this present time. As a side note, the revenue sharing board deadline was March 2nd. Verbal presentation will be April 9th, 5 o'clock here at the hall, and then June 11th will be the awarding of the grants. Under business we need to attend to, the United Veterans Council, you have received a copy of the letter from the United Veterans Council for a request to help defray the cost of the flags for the grave sites that the United Veterans Council put on the graves of our departed service people every year. In the past, there's been a donation of $500 towards that effort. What are your wishes?
I make a motion that we give the Veterans Council $500 again this year to put flags on the vets' graves.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved, supported that we donate $500 towards the United Veterans Council for purchase of flags to be placed on the veterans' grave sites. Discussion being that this is one of the few things that the Township Board, as a board, can donate to. And it's been the desire of this board for many, many years to continue that effort, and I think it's a worthwhile cause. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Basin Lake District, Conservation District has requested from the township a fee to participate in the 2018 Household Hazardous Waste Day to be held Saturday, August 18th, 2018, at a cost of $1,325. I'm not sure where that figure is derived from. I think it's the same as last year, is it not?
It's a 5 cent per resident increase.
So that's how it's done, is by resident? Oh, I see. By registered resident or just a?
The
Oh,
210
okay.
census,
Okay.
that's what they're using.
They're using the census.
All right. Does anybody know if anybody else in the county participates in this monetarily?
Some of them do.
Good.
I can't tell you which ones off the top of my head right now.
Good deal. What they're asking for is $1,325.
I make a motion that we sign the contract with them, agreement for services for the hazardous waste day of 2018 for $1,325.
And I'll second.
It's been moved, supported that the township participate in the 2018 Household Hazardous Waste Day to be held Saturday, August 18th, 2018, with a donation of $1,325. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Carried. Item number 3 is the resolution of the 2018, which is the resolution 2018-03. That's a sewer rate for agreement between Manistee Township and the Tribal Sewer Authority. Who was in negotiations for that? Was that you?
Yeah, Diane attended.
Okay. Anything you need to suggest?
They raised, what was it, 2%?
Mm-hmm.
Raised the commercial rate 2%, left the residential rate the same.
Okay, and what we've done is gone from 1% to 3% admin fee, is that correct?
That is correct.
And the reason we did that is because at $31.75 flat rate for residents, the township was getting 30 cents to administer it, and it wasn't quite covering what it took to administer it. So we increased the administration fee on both residential and commercial to 3%. So I would entertain a motion to adjust the sewer rates under resolution number 2018-03. Residential rate stays the same at $31.75 per month flat rate, and the commercial at $14.05 per 1,000 gallons, with a 3% admin fee on each. Is there a motion?
I make the motion to approve that resolution.
Is there a second?
I second that.
It's been moved, supported, resolution 2018-03 for the sewer rate be accepted as presented. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fino,
Yes.
Ms. Janicowitz,
Yes.
Taylor is yes, Berkowitz,
Yes. Thank you. Resolution 2018-04 is for the grant application for the fire department for equipment. This is to address the revenue sharing grant that's been put in by Chuck and his officers for hydrant adapters, 500 gallon minute portable monitor, and vindicator nozzle for a total of $5,750. It's equipment that's needed by the fire department. And I would entertain a motion to accept that grant application. Addressing 2018-04 resolution.
I'll make the motion to approve the adoption of the resolution to 2018-04 grant application for the fire department.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved, supported, we accept resolution 2018-04 for the revenue sharing grant application for the fire department for 2018 cycle 1. Any discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Ms. Janicowitz,
Yes.
Taylor is yes, Mr. Fino,
Yes.
and Mr. Berkowitz.
Yes. Item number 5 is a Bar Lake Improvement Board request for responsibility transfer. Is that something that's to be addressed?
The letter was sent. And Guy and I both can answer any questions, hopefully.
When's the next Bar Lake Improvement Board
We
meeting?
don't have one scheduled.
Is that
Pending.
contingent on?
Yeah, depending on what the township board decides.
You want to address that now? You want to wait for a full board? What do you want to do? Makes no difference to
Let me give
me.
you some information.
Okay, sure.
Okay. I think for it to transfer to this board, we'd have to dissolve the Bar Lake Board. To dissolve the Bar Lake Board, there's several conditions that have to be met, and I don't have them memorized, but one of them is that the conditions that cause the board to be formed, which is invasive weeds, have to be no longer present, maybe, the right word? Anyway, don't need to be treated any longer.
Well,
That was the
that's
case.
never
And
gonna
that-
go away.
And that was the case last year. There were not enough
To treat.
to treat.
To warrant treat.
to warrant treatment. So, we don't know what this year is gonna bring. So, all we have is last year to go by. I've read, the Conservation District is getting money for managing invasive species in lakes and on land, actually, from the state, DNR or DEQ, I forget who gave the grant.
One and the same.
One and the same? Yeah, the state gave it to them.
Well, do we know what it's going to take, how long it's going to take, how many treatments, do we have any of that information? We do not, do we?
Well, we've got his
Not for
past
this
history.
year.
What we
Yeah.
have is past history. And obviously, the first year was the big one.
Yeah.
The huge difference in cost, and Guy, obviously correct me if I'm wrong, which at times I have been, is with the improvement board in place, we spend money we have to spend money on consultants, which has been over, what,
$5,500 a year. $5,500.
Yeah, annually.
Yes.
Where if it was fell under the township, you would not have to incur that cost. You could probably go direct with whoever you chose to treat, if you so choose to treat that particular year.
Right.
So having said that, like say Clark does the treating, is who we've contracted with, at least Improvement Board. I'm sure it's not the only company out there. If they were to do the survey and
They do
say,
that, yeah.
and they were to say, we want to treat 2 acres of Eurasian milfoil and 5 acres of Phragmites, and at a cost of $2,000. It could be done for the $2,000. You wouldn't have the other additional costs. Now, I will also tell you in full disclosure, in discussions with RLS, they can do it for less money than the $5,500. In fact, our last meeting, due to the weather conditions of that night, Mike Solomon turned around and went back home. We had him on the phone. And there's probably no reason to even have him drive here if we were to continue going down that road. They offered at maybe like a $4,000 rate without having an actual formal written proposal. Maybe we could even lower that if we were to remain with the board. But point being is you're still paying somebody to do that aspect as opposed to going to the direct applier of the herbicides. You can do it for basically a third to a half of what would need to spend. It's a minimal impact, my view on it, on the budget compared to the residents, the riparian owners, if you will, paying the full weight of it. And it's not like we have a lot of lakes in the township. We have basically one lake and a sliver of Manistee Lake. It's not a huge hit. Plus, the other thing that I would suggest is that if it fell under the township jurisdiction, you have more control as opposed to us renegades on improvement.
Well, now you're being honest. Well, Jeff, it would behoove the township board, I mean, it would be foolish for us to say, okay, we're gonna do this without knowing what it's gonna cost.
Well, every year that changes.
Not knowing what, not suggesting that you don't know what you're talking about, it's just that we need to have some sort of concrete figure before this board can even consider it.
Well, we can show you the numbers that we've got, our historic numbers of 3 years of treating. We can do that.
By RLS.
The RLS has been a fixed rate. The Clark has been the variable because of the
Clark does the
treatment.
treatment?
Oh, okay. Under the guidance
of RLS.
Okay.
Does anybody know how long these chemicals keep acting in the lake on these weeds? The fact that they are not coming back very rapidly? I mean,
I
they're
think
basically stagnant at the moment from what we've been going through each year. Does that mean the chemicals are still in there working on them all the time? Or?
I think it goes and kills down to the root system, so they just die.
Right.
You know? So it would have to be come from seed again.
So they're not really going to grow that rapidly then, at that rate?
No.
Well, the Phragmites, it's a matter of how fast the Phragmites come back in towards where they could treat from a boat application. Because there's plenty of Phragmites on the south side, I can assure you that. But there again, we are calling an invasive due to whatever the state is dictating it to be called an invasive.
How are they defined?
Yes.
That's right.
As opposed to, don't tell a duck hunter that Phragmites is a terrible thing. But at any rate.
Was it last year they treated less than a half acre?
None.
Was
There
it?
was
They treated
no
none
treatment.
because there was not enough to warrant
Right.
applying for the permit. even.
Yeah. It seems silly for us to be paying RLS for nothing. I mean, it's a waste of our money.
Their only value to me is that maybe it's Clark that actually does the survey and comes up with the information on whether there are invasives out there and how much.
Right.
I don't know where
How
they
much
get their,
area?
You don't really need that middleman.
I don't know where they get their figures when they say, well, we've got less than an acre now. I kayak that lake all over the place, and there's no way these people can survey that lake and come up with a number. The natural native species that are there, this robin's pondweed consumes at least 50% of the lake. It's a natural weed. It grows right up to the surface. When the water's down a little bit, you can see it out there, just a tan haze on the top of the lake. That consumes more of the lake than anything else. I've kayaked over the top of it, you can, and there's milfoil there. I'm not saying it's native. I'm saying it's, as far as I can see, it's native. We're paying the fox to watch the hen harvest is what we're doing. RLS and these people are going to keep coming back saying, we got to get it because if one of these weeds grows within 10 years, you're going to have the whole lake full. But keep paying us money and we'll take care of that. You know, it's a trust thing that we're doing, and we're paying through the nose to trust these people to, and that's their business. It's their business to make money, and that's what they're doing off of us.
Basically, RLS is the middleman, and you really don't need that middleman. You can just go to Clark and save that middleman money. You don't need that.
But if you surveyed that lake,
If it's needed at all,
If the improvement board is
dissolved.
dissolved,
Right.
that's true.
They basically have done their job.
Mhm.
Their job was to see what was going on in the lake, take care of the, get it down, take
Recommend
care of the weeds, and
ways to
they've done
treat-
it.
take care of it.
They basically worked themselves right out of a job.
I don't want to speak for the association because I'm not a member, but it seems like the association is kind of, I don't want to say dissolved, but it's not active.
Right,
I think would be a fair assessment.
most of their members have moved out of town.
yeah. Their main
The active
people have
ones.
all
We're out
left.
off the lake anyway.
I know
Right.
Jim, once he sells the house, is going to be moving up to Portage.
He's gonna move where?
Up to Portage Lake.
Right, right. That's what
Well,
I
if,
understood too.
okay, let me go back. If there aren't any invasives, or not enough to treat, then I think you probably could dissolve the board, if I understand the language properly. You know, it'll take a hearing, and then we refund all the money to the people who paid, you know, on a per parcel basis. And then, I mean, if the weeds came back, then the board could take the responsibility to do it.
Well, like I
Or
said,
form a committee at the board, whatever, at the township level.
from our short history, the township has the ability to do it at probably a third of the cost of what the improvement board has, the
And
ability to do it at.
without the hassle. with the
Exactly,
board, too.
exactly.
So if the weeds were to come back,
In
whatever
June.
down the line, then it was in your hands at the moment, could you not take care of it even at that point? Just figure out,
That's what I was saying,
Yeah.
I think.
you still wouldn't need the improvement board to do it. You could
Right, if we
get
dissolve the
hold of Clark.
improvement, let's say in June they do a survey, we pay them half.
$500.
You know, whatever, they do
Yeah.
a survey and there's not enough to
Well,
run
I
the
mean-
treatment, then we just dissolve the board. And if 5 years from now, the weeds come back, you know, we, at the township level, take care of it then. Or the homeowners could do it, for that matter, I mean, if they want.
Associations
Yeah.
do that, but like, I don't think the association is,
It's voluntary in that
it
case.
it is voluntary, and I don't think they're real active at the moment.
So all the shouting and everything that went on in these walls over the bar lake, it's my understanding that it was not over the treatment of the weeds, it was the cost. Is that a fair assumption?
I think that's what the dividing point was the cost. You know, my assumption would be, if they didn't have the ability to tax, you
Right.
folks probably wouldn't have been in the room as much,
Right.
correct?
Well, basically what it is our neighbors took our money to their benefit. They put a lien on our house and they didn't have a right to do that.
Yeah, basically, 2/3 of the people around the lake forced the other third to pony up money
Yeah.
to do something that they wanted, the 2/3 wanted to do and not the rest.
And there's also,
I know that happens there, but that's what,
well, there was also the point that only the riparians were assessed when it's a public launching area there for anybody to use. So why were we the only ones paying and not the, basically, you know, if they would have gone with the whole Bar Lake area, down Bar Lake Road to Swetleski to don'ts all the way around the Bar Lake area and assessed, it would have been more appropriate than just the riparians.
So then my assessment is fair, is that correct?
I think that's probably, yeah.
So, because not my biggest fear, but one of my biggest concerns is to bring that argument that you people had over and over and over again to this meeting.
No, and like I said, I don't know, I gave Guy a letter, I don't know if he forwarded it to you.
Yes, he did.
And like I say, our only concern was that if this would have started out the way it should have, rather than a friendly neighbor coming around with a petition that had no language on top, except we took her word for it, that said, we want the township to tell us what, if anything, can be done with the weeds in the lake. There was no mention of invasives. There was just a couple of our neighbors that wanted to run a powerboat on the lake, and they were concerned about the weeds in their propellers. There was,
Which is always going to be there because of the native.
well, yeah,
so-
and, but so we.
Yeah, we revisited that several times.
Yeah.
Well, and it was sold under Dennis under a pretense also that Wilson told us we couldn't do, and that is spend money for a lake level thing, and also a watershed study. So between those two things, that we can't do anything with it, became only invasive species, and it was sold under the pretense of something in addition that we're not entrusted to do.
So it's your opinion that we have a special meeting to address that, or you want to do that next month? If we're going to have a meeting, or if we're going to address this in a special meeting, or at next month's meeting, I would suggest that the powers that be within that board get Clark, is that the people?
Well, Clark is who we've contracted with for the treatment. RLS is the middleman.
Well,
We can show you, I mean, it's going to be easy to show you how much we have spent with Clark. That's an easy thing to do.
but we're going to talk to people before we're going to sign on with anybody. We're going to have to talk to them directly. Again, not that.
Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can put you in contact with Clark. That's not a big deal.
Well, personally, I think we ought to do one more survey. And if we've got last year and this year that there's just nothing worth treating, then we have a good foundation to make the claim that they've done their job and we can dissolve the board.
But can we go directly to Clark for that without paying this RLS
I don't know.
$5,500?
I
That's-
don't know the answer to that.
And once again, my point is, do we trust RLS? It's against the fox watching the hen house, you know. Yeah, oh yeah, man, we found a lot of them weeds now.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
I think the fact that they want to lower their price to us and not have as many visits indicates to me that they know there's not a problem there. They don't need that many times to come in. They don't need
Well,
to even be involved.
I think to be-
That's just my opinion.
I think to be fair, you can assume it's going to be invasives. It's just a matter of what degree you let the invasives. You don't want to let them take control. You don't want to- But there again, to me, in my simple farm logic, a weed is a weed is a weed.
Exactly.
You know,
just so that-
wherever it comes from, and it's a matter of, does it overtake the lake? Does it make the lake unnavigable? Does it make the lake, it can't grow a fish in it anymore? All of those things, as opposed to, well, this weed is native to Michigan,
So we
therefore
have to
we have to
remove
kill it.
Yeah.
What is your opinion, Jeff, on being a fisherman and a hunter as far as the invasive weeds?
I'm somewhat agnostic, but a weed is a weed,
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and as far as the navigation of our lake, it's never going to be
You're never going to
navigable.
water ski
So
in that lake.
it doesn't matter if you have.
Well, if my kid would have bought
It doesn't matter if you have invasive weeds or
Native.
Native weeds, yeah.
it's still going to be weeds. So why are we even doing this?
It cushions the
It's not
fall.
it's not going to be detrimental to the lake at all.
All right, let's continue this conversation between now and next month and figure out who we gotta have here and what we're gonna do with.
I'll go through and outline the procedure for dissolving the board, so we can discuss that.
And we can give you numbers that we have spent
And you
with
can-
Clark and RLS over the 3 years that the board has been empowered
Yeah.
to deal with that. Or 4 years, whatever the heck it's been.
Well, we treated, yeah, we employed RLS for 4 years,
Treated for 3.
treated for 3.
Well, in my opinion, I think, just if I might interject, I think under section 29 of part 309, Public Act 451, the ways to dissolve the board, get rid of the board, is the most painless ways for the board to dissolve itself. There's no public hearing or anything necessary there. All they got to do is say three of our 5 members feel we've accomplished what we were formed to accomplish. Let's take a vote for dissolution.
And you can do that. You can
Well,
do
the only
that.
thing I will tell you on that in regard to that is we only have a 4-member board currently, and Guy abstained sitting on the township board. And I don't know if he needs to abstain, but I'm just saying, that's what happened. It was a 3-0 vote and 1 abstention in sending this letter to you folks.
I'll go through that section again, but I respectfully disagree. I think it says that you have to have, all of these have to be met, all these points. There's like,
In the opinion of the board, if their reason for having been formed has been met,
then they can dissolve.
then they can
Right.
dissolve. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying, is
Right.
it takes a majority of the board to say let's
But I think,
dissolve.
I think there has to be a public hearing.
But there's no public
Whatever.
hearing. No public
Get with
hearing.
me and we'll go over it and
Yeah.
try to.
In which case you may have to have another meeting.
Yeah, exactly. So give me a ringy or whatever, or text, what have you, and we'll sit down and scrutinize it.
Okay,
Thank you for your time on it.
thanks for all the participation. Item number 6 is a post-audit policy. Diane, if you would please speak to that, because I'm not very versed on it.
The post-audit policy, in essence, means that we would be able to, that the treasurer and the clerk would be able to prepare payroll and issue payroll checks or utility bills or any invoices that have a penalty if they're not paid before the date of the board meeting, or invoices that have discounts that would be lost if the payments are not made before the date of the board meeting. Currently, we don't issue payroll until after the board meeting. Some of the utility bills we don't issue until after the board meeting. This policy would permit us, especially with payroll, to go ahead and issue it timely and then come to the board with a list of what was paid during the prior period, from board meeting to board meeting, or month to month, if you will. Check numbers attached. The board can approve those payments after they've actually been issued, because they would be issued under this post-audit policy. The post-audit means the board is going to audit it after they've been released.
After the check's been sent.
After the checks have been released, correct.
And the purpose is to
With-
pay within a timely manner.
Yes,
And discounts if
and
they're
with
there.
bringing the fire department in on a different pay schedule now, we really need to be creating the payroll at the last date of the month or the first day of the month, depending on which option we finally decide to do. And all of that is well before our normally scheduled board meeting. This would permit issuing the checks timely, and a list of those would be available to bring to the board meeting when it meets 8 to 14, 15 days after the fact. Mhm.
Okay. Do you need that in the form of a motion?
I'll make the motion to adopt the post-audit policy.
I second that.
Been moved and supported that we adopt the post-audit policy. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
What?
Roll call.
We have to take a roll.
Roll call. Sure. Taylor is yes. Mr. Fino,
Yes.
Ms. Jankowitz,
Yes.
and Mr. Berkowitz.
Yes. Motion's carried. Thank you. Bills have been provided. I will entertain a motion to pay the bills for the month as provided and received.
Motion to pay the bills that are presented on our check register.
And received.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll second.
It's been moved and supported to pay the bills for the month as provided and received. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. None opposed? The MTA meeting will be Wednesday, March 28th at the Norman Township Hall. Zoning Board of Appeals, we don't have one right now, right?
No, and it almost is too late at this point.
Okay, we're scheduled to meet April 3rd,
If there is one.
if there is one. 2018. Planning Commission will meet Thursday, April 19th, here at the Township Hall. And the regular meeting of the Manistee Township Board will be Thursday, April 12th, 7 p.m. here at the Manistee Township Hall. I should have said this earlier, but I thank you people for moving the meeting for me. Sorry if I inconvenienced anyone. It was an important absence on my part. Any other public comment? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Been moved, supported, we adjourn. All in favor?